I'm going to go ahead and click record or I will forget later on. So can everybody see my screen okay? I get no answers. Where did my people go? There we are.
I can see the screen, Becky. It's Karen.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
I can see it also.
Okay.
Miranda.
Okay. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. This is going to be a little more informal webinar today. So welcome to our first webinar of 2017, post-summit. I think we've recovered. I have Petra Colindres here with me, who's our new assistant director for the Oklahoma Breastfeeding Resource Center. You want to say hi, Petra?
Hi, guys.
So if y'all were at the summit, you would have seen Petra too. And let's just, shall we just do a quick, I'm just going to kind of go down as I know people are checking in. I see Karen. You want to say hi, Karen, and tell us what hospital you're with?
Karen Blackburn, St. Anthony Hospital, Oklahoma City.
Okay. And I see Jeannie. Jeannie, can you hear us? You might have to unmute yourself on your end. There, she's unmuted. And she must hear us if she's responding. Can you? We're not hearing you though, Jeannie.
She might have speakers if she didn't call in.
Oh, that's true. Well, I know it's Jeannie Campbell in Stillwater. And if we're not able to hear you and you do have questions, you can always type in the chat box if you're in front of a computer. And I see Carol Garrison. You want to say hi?
Hi, Becky. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, this is Carol at Alliance Health in Clinton.
Awesome. I'll be seeing you in a few weeks.
Yes, you will.
And then Tracy Heptonstall. Can you hear us, Tracy? Yeah. Anybody that doesn't get a chance to say hi can certainly, pop in later. So I'm not sure which hospital you're with, Tracy. So yeah, if you can type in the chat box when you get a chance, that would be great. I see Charlie. Charlie, you might have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
And tell us what hospital you're with.
I'm Charlie. I'm with St. Anthony Shawnee Hospital.
Awesome. And Miranda, you'll have to unmute yourself for a minute.
I'm Miranda Cummings, and I'm with Great Plains Regional Medical Center out of Elk City.
Been out your way, though it's been a while, so glad to have you.
Thank you.
Paula?
Hi, guys. I'm Paula Hancock. I'm from Duncan Regional Hospital.
All right, welcome. And then Angela? Angela's on the phone.
Angela Strickland at St. Anthony Hospital in Oklahoma City.
Awesome. All right. Our newest designated hospital. We got Karen and Angela both from St. Anthony's. And Debbie. I see Debbie just coming on. So, well, as I said, this is kind of one of our office hours. So hopefully, y'all are going to have some questions and topics to bring up that we can certainly troubleshoot with you and even share maybe some successes as well. But before I do that, just wanted to, for those of you maybe that are a little newer to one of our webinars, just make sure everybody knows, hopefully you can see my screen. I have our website, the Oklahoma Breastfeeding Resource Center, up on the screen. And just to remind everybody of some of the resources that we have on here, this is a website for y'all. That we have, clicking right here, we have a whole section on baby friendly. So as we have our webinars scheduled or webinars that we've done in the past that you want to go back, and we may, if we had a PowerPoint presentation, we'll have the slides posted there, or we may have should have the recording for that as we have a new summit date scheduled or things like that, and slides, of course, that we are allowed to post from this year's summit. And then resources, you can click on that, of course, to just see as we identify things that we think will be helpful. Here's our state coalition website, the Milk Bank, Health Department, WIC, quick links, these down below, or Connecticut, Illinois, kind of some other state initiatives that we've seen, with some good information. And then, of course, a big section on sample policies and forms and policies and things from other organizations, such that's where we might have the, any AAP statements or policies that, which reminds me, we should put the new skin to skin stuff up there. And some different helpful links maybe for that relate a bit more to clinical care. Media, of course, is where we try to keep up with different videos that can be helpful, videos for teaching and either training staff or families. So, and I think we've got the Texas 10 steps are maybe under, I'm not sure where we have those. Do we have those under our baby-friendly link? Actually, let me just, real quick, I'll go back to the, here's our baby-friendly information, and then here is our online training for healthcare staff, so you can look up information there, but that's the 15-hour online course that is designed to help hospitals meet the 15-hour didactic education for baby-friendly, so it's good evidence-based information there. And hospitals that are participating in our state program, of course, can enroll staff at $30 a person, and you can just send us a list of staff that you want enrolled, and we'll get them logins, and they'll have to get a OUHSC login to be able to access that course, and they have a year with their login to finish it, though certainly it shouldn't take them that long. And hospitals that are not participating, it's $60, so you can see kind of a summary of that. And if you're interested in actually reviewing that for your hospital, if you have a manager, educator, or someone that wants to kind of take a preview of it, we'll certainly set that up for you as well. So just contact us down here, obrc@ouhsc.edu. It's kind of our general email. Other videos, WHO, here's the Texas 10-step program. They have a lot of really cool videos, especially helpful for staff training. So there's where they've interviewed staff and patients and physicians, so they'll have like a video on step 7, the rooming in piece. Anyway, Breastfeeding Champions patient materials, that's kind of another place where we've got different forms that may be helpful, other links from others. And if there's materials from WIC that just to help you make that link, you can order the purple legislation cards online. That'll hook you up with WIC on these links. Some of the nice handouts are the hospital experience booklet that we gave out in the folders at the symposium that you can order free from WIC. So, and then our Tiny Tummies little badge buddy. So just hopefully different resources there. And as we identify there's our training again, but other things that we know that are coming up, such as Making Breastfeeding Easier classes that I do quarterly here on campus, and of course that's my road show as well, that we certainly can schedule to come to your facility and offer that class on site. That's, once again, most of the work that we do is funded with some grants from the State Health Department through Maternal Child Health and some Title V funding. I do have a excuse me, a 2-day breastfeeding training that is geared more towards kind of supporting the health department staff that do home visiting, whether it's Children First nurses or the parents as teachers staff as well, but anyone is welcome to attend that. So I actually have one scheduled in Tulsa at the end of May, and then we'll be scheduling, we try to do those quarterly as well and try to alternate between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. So you can always check there for that as well. And then I particularly want to highlight a couple of quality trainings coming up that WIC is providing. Some of you may be familiar with their Breastfeeding Educator course that they try to offer it every year, and Glenda Dickerson comes and teaches that. She's an excellent speaker and really strong on kind of talking about language and counseling and scripting and things like that, but all good quality kind of basic breastfeeding education information, and that's a 2-day course now. And then we don't have up yet, but WIC is bringing their 5-day lactation management course, and that's June 12th through 16th, so the second week of June. And as soon as we have information, I think registration is open for that now too. We'll try to get that up. But if anybody's interested and can't find that, you can always email us and we can get that to you as well. And as we identify other training that's out there that's online and particularly free, these are things that have been developed in other states that may be helpful for offering, for helping provide some of the education, for example, for your physicians and all. So, and then of course our online training again. All right, so let's see if anyone else has joined real quick before we kind of open up. I see Allison on there from Norman. Hello, Allison. Oh, somebody's put us on mute with background noise. I mean, with background music. So, and I see Jill on there from Canadian Valley.
Hello.
Hello. And Julia Johnson. Not sure where you're from, Julia, but feel free to unmute yourself and say hi. And let's see. And then a Jennifer Ryan. So, all right. Well, let me just open up right now for questions or concerns or challenges. This is your opportunity to kind of, let us know what's going on. So do we have any questions from anybody?
Or successes?
Or successes to share. And I'm gonna pick on our newest designated hospital, since we've got a couple of, and I see Debbie on the phone as well. How is life the past 2 or 3 months since you've been designated at St. Anthony's in Oklahoma City? Karen or Angela want to speak to that?
I just put a bite of lunch in my mouth. It is really nice to kind of take a deep breath after all of that hard work. And kind of, we took a little bit of a break, and we're getting ready to start working on our QI for 2017.
Oh, so have they, how soon after your designation did they then communicate with you about kind of, okay, now that you're designated, there's more work to do?
We maybe got that, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we got designated. We found out in November.
Okay.
Kind of appeared that maybe just be when they send it out to everyone. And it has kind of some, like, just global due dates. So I think it's really like anyone that's designated, this is what their thing is. But I may be wrong about that.
Okay. And I know so what's your QI? They assign you something, or do you pick?
No, we are assigned. And so in the portal, they emailed it to us, but it's also in the portal exactly what we'll be looking at, and that we'll be turning in data, and like what the quality improvement would look like if we're not meeting where we need to be with data that we turn in.
Okay. Does it seem pretty doable?
Yeah, it's basically just the same stuff. They picked, I think, 3 or maybe 4 steps, and I just put a big bite of food in my mouth too. They picked a couple steps, like 3 or 4 steps, and the audit forms, I don't think that they're any different than the ones that you get in dissemination access to. So it's basically just doing the same thing to make sure you're maintaining.
Right. Which is my understanding for, after designation, that you'll have, some pieces of QI to do each year, focusing on particular steps, so that by the time the 5 years rolls around and it's time for a revisit, that you've really kind of continued auditing and have audited all of the 10 steps again.
Yeah, that is appears to be exactly what it is.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So do we have questions from anyone that's on the phone right now? Any challenges that you're facing?
This is Charlie from St. Anthony, Shawnee. Our biggest accomplishment, we recently turned in our 4-year work plan. That was giving me nightmares and cold sweats during the night. So that's turned in. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. My plan is to submit our policy within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And hopefully hear back from them.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And then you'll be ready to move because you're in development right now.
Yes, yes. The plan I sent them was for 4 years, but the way I have it in my mind, we're going to be done way before then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's always good to finish sooner.
Also,
and so for those of you that may be, newer to the process, the 4D pathway discovery is just the first phase where you basically register, submit your CEO letters, kind of give them some facility data, how many deliveries and, how many physicians do you have, and, insurance and like percent Medicaid and some, facility data like that. So Charlie at St. Anthony Shawnee is in development phase, and that's where you develop all of your plans. And sometimes people are concerned that when they're in development, before they can move from development into dissemination, that they have to actually implement all of the plans. And that is not the case. It's just developing what's your plan for how you're going to get your staff trained. Here's the plan. You don't have to have all your staff trained, but here's how we're going to do it. Here's the education we're going to offer, and here's maybe our time frame that we're expecting to get this done in. Here's our plan for, prenatal education and postpartum education, and here's our policy, so that you have all those plans developed. And then when you've kind of met all those steps, anything I'm missing there, Charlie? That's some of the biggies: policy, staff education, physician education, and patient education.
You have to put the dates. I mean, the dates that they have for you, it needs to be done in each phase. You have 6 weeks or 3 months or 8 months to complete certain steps, and so you have to be aware of those things.
Okay. Okay. So when you send that in, we expect we're going to get our policy done within 2 or 3 months, these dates. And our plan for staff education is these dates. Obviously, take a longer period of time. But once you've submitted all of that, then that hospital is ready to move from development into dissemination. And that's where you disseminate those plans and you actually start implementing all of those plans. Well, that's exciting. So any challenges y'all are encountering right now?
Becky, before you move to that, this is Karen. Can I just say one thing about that plan? Because I think sometimes people get a little freaked out about that plan too. Like, baby friendly, the plan, just like Charlie said, it's a pretty extensive thing, and it wants to know, you put your goal date of when you're going to have it done. I think you even, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since we did ours, you put like who's responsible, don't you, Charlie, for making sure that section isn't that correct, Charlie?
Yes, it is. Yes.
But you put whose name is responsible for that particular piece. But then Baby Friendly's not going to come back on each of those dates and say, okay, did you get that done by that date? They don't do that. They just want to know that you have a plan in place and you're working towards those things. So you don't have to freak out too much that, it's for you. It's your worksheet. It's your plan. They just want to know that you have a plan and that you have your team in place, but they're not going to come back and hold you to every one of those single dates. You know what I mean? So you don't have to freak out over it too bad. Okay? Does that make sense? Because I know I've heard some people, you know, like, oh my gosh, they're going to call us back or check. We have to have each of these things done exactly by that goal date, and you don't.
Yeah, I think their goal is just to help you, formulate a plan and a timeline to help keep you moving, so you don't stall or park in one phase for too long. And of course, their extra incentive there, as Karen knows all too well, is
Yes, that is very true. You do have a due date to get finished with each phase. Please make sure you pay attention to that date that you need to be finished with each phase. That is not negotiable.
yeah. So if you enroll in designation, in development, that's the first phase where you pay one of the baby-friendly fees. Say you enroll in that March 1st, you get your confirmation that welcome to development phase. Well, you have now until the next March 1st to move out of development phase into dissemination. So they don't want you to just park and not, have some momentum and some movement going. And if you haven't moved out of a particular phase by the end of that 12-month period of time, then you will get to pay the fee again. And if you're participating in our state project, we will reimburse you for the fee one time, but not twice. So yeah, definitely, and that might be a date to make sure you put on calendars 3 months in advance, so that to kind of check if we haven't moved out. Are we getting ready to? Or we better hurry up and get our people moving so we can move into the next phase. Anything else, Charlie? Challenges that y'all are encountering?
Sorry, I just put a bite in my mouth.
Every time. It is a lunchtime meeting. That's okay.
No, I'm still working with a lot of the staff, getting buy-in and getting scripting and verbiage, and with all the recent Facebook media stuff going on, I'm having to re-educate, answer a lot of questions, and give staff the right words to say for themselves and for the patients and the families to get the right information across. So.
Okay. And so on that note, as we are still we're kind of sketching out the webinars that we want to do for this year. And so we always want input from y'all as well. And I know we did something last year, I think it was last summer, on overcoming staff resistance. Ingrid did something on that, but we can certainly always revisit that topic maybe in a different way or whatever, with what are some kind of current concerns that are out there with staff. And that actually reminds me too, for those of you that do have a computer and can see my screen, I'm going to remind everybody some of you may remember Ann Muirwood, who we had as a consultant in the early years of our project, and she's still working with hospitals in other states and has this big CHAMPS project that she's in charge of. And Lori Feldman-Wenner, who came and spoke at our summit a couple of years ago, just did a wonderful webinar for them, and this is the PowerPoint slide. So if you're getting any kind of questions or concerns from people that, I heard, there was an article about baby friendly is not safe, or skin to skin is not safe, and babies are dying, and, she really goes through what was published, and it wasn't a peer-reviewed, evidence-based article. It was an opinion piece, and she really goes through a lot of the information, and so it's very well done. And that that's a PowerPoint we could send out to everybody, and that's easy to just, even if you're getting any questions from your physicians or pediatricians or anyone, that's a good one to send them, that they could fairly quickly read through, and that could count as some education too. Check that one off as another module. So let me bring my screen back up here. Hello. Firefox. It's right here. So sometimes it's a little slow getting my screen back up. Oh, no, I need to do this. Yeah. Sorry. So I'll just go back to home there. So other questions or concerns that people have?
This is Jeannie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to say we are working with a physician that's an OB doctor, and he was at a hospital in New York that did baby friendly, so he has a lot to share with us. And so because he did this, he's got a lot of work for me to do in addition, which is okay. But anyway, he has let us come into the offices, and we've done some education there. And one of the ideas one of our staff members had was to do like a poster board laminated in each exam room. And I wasn't aware, but they have 18 exam rooms, and that way there wouldn't be like papers to give them that they would just put in their purse and forget. But it would also alert the nurse or whoever the physician that's educating them, you know, like we would have first, second, third trimester and broken down into different topics, and they could just, you know, point to that, okay, you're, you know, 20 weeks, we're going to talk about this now, and do like just a few little bullet points. So I thought that was a very good idea.
So that's in process right now?
Yes, well, yes, and it's going to probably take a while to get that off the ground, but we've at least gone into the offices and talked with the staff, and they're very open. The office manager's very open to it. So we had to have several pre-meetings and dispel a lot of the myths and, you know, those kind of things. So we also have our DME providing a gift basket, because they were getting the formula gift basket as a giveaway once a month, so we just have our own now. And so that was a little positive. So, you know, we're giving something that's baby-friendly type.
Right.
Gift.
So Jeannie, share a little bit more about that, because that was a fun thing, and yet you had to actually be careful what your helpful marketing folks wanted to put in the new basket, right?
Right, right. And we had a little discussion about that, because she said, well, they have to pump and bottle feed, you know, give bottles anyway. And I said, but this is their first gift. We don't want to promote bottle feeding. You know, that would come later. And so I kind of got her to see my side of it, but she was a little like, what? So, you know, there's just a lot of education. And sometimes, I don't know how anybody else feels, but with a smaller hospital, sometimes you feel like the Lone Ranger, that you're the only one preaching this, and everybody's looking at you like you have three heads. So just hang in there, because it helps to attend these and have the help with Becky and the Breastfeeding Resource Center is wonderful, because, you know, and going to the summit, you feel like, okay, I'm not the only one doing this. So.
Right. So Jeannie, on that note, can you just maybe tell the group, especially, being from a little bit smaller hospital up there in Stillwater, what kinds of people, as far as titles, do you have on your task force, formally, informally? So you have an OBGYN, obviously.
Right.
Great.
We have an OBGYN, and then just recently, Dr. Webb, who's our pediatrician, yes, she wants to be on board. And originally we were just going to have the nursing staff, and then have a different committee with like a community member, things like that. But it's so hard to have everybody meet, so we just decided to make it one meeting and just have everybody come. So we did have a member from the community, but she kind of bowed out. And there's lots of things that are posted on Facebook, and, you know, again, you have to do damage control all the time, it seems like. And so one person says one thing, and then it just spreads like wildfire. But yes, it's mainly our staff nurses who are on the task force.
Okay. So staff nurses, and then, but then you've got an OB and now a pediatrician.
Right.
Anyone that's, say, out of, kind of outside that circle, as far as, do you have like a QI person, or maybe not gotten to that point yet, a chain person?
We don't.
Marketing, you know, marketing people are also good to have on your course. So that
Okay.
they learn, as the hospital is putting up any kind of, billboards, something on the website, any kinds of advertising that they're doing for the hospital, that there's somebody in marketing that understands about baby friendly too, and you're not inadvertently your own hospital, having something out there that's promoting the opposite of what you're trying to do. So
Right.
that's helpful. It doesn't mean they have to come to all the meetings, but having people that are in the information loop, if you will. So,
Okay.
all right. Anyone else? I see Paula on there. Paula, what's going on in Duncan? Any particular challenges you're facing down there?
Right now, we have got our plan in place, and we have got them, they've accepted our work plan and everything, which, Charlie, you're going to sleep a whole lot better because of it. I am concerned right now, not so much about what I'm going to teach, but how I'm going to get this information out to my physicians. My physicians' offices aren't necessarily what we consider an entity of our hospital, so I'm not sure how to get the information out to them.
So comments on that? Some of y'all have tackled that already. I know we've got some.
This is Angela at St. Anthony's. So we don't have a ton of physicians, but most of them are affiliated, and I'm going to use the word had to implement all of these things, but we did have 2 or 3 that are not. And we did the same thing we did for our affiliated physicians. We met with the office staff. We went to the office. We presented them the materials that they would give to their patients. We encouraged them to do it. We followed up with them. But when it came down to really close to our visit, we didn't stress about including those patients in prenatal audits or, browbeating them to try to get them to stay compliant and make sure their patients were educated. We stuck to affiliated, but we included them in all of the same things. You can't make them, you just hope that they understand the importance of that education, and that's what we did.
And Paula, depending on the staff resources that you have in Duncan, and how many different, if say none of your physicians are technically affiliated with your hospital, and so they're considered kind of all independent practitioners, and they have privileges to deliver there. You could also consider, if you've got several different offices, that's too much time to try to send people from your hospital to go meet with their clinic staff. You might pick some of the bigger ones, the larger volume ones, to try to go in person, and then perhaps you could have a meeting on site where you invite several of the other smaller clinic managers to come for lunch or something, and try to get that information to them as well. So different ways certainly that you could tackle that. But that's, I know that prenatal is always a challenge for pretty much every hospital. So
I would say to also make sure even if the physician is not a paid physician, if their clinic and clinic staff are part of your facility or your network, you've got to really look closely at that, because that clinic might still qualify even though technically that physician does not.
Right, exactly. Yes, exactly. We have a clinic like that at OU. So
Becky, how do we make sure that that's not the case? Because I don't think, and we have looked at this with my manager, with our supervisor, even with the head of the hospital, they do not get paid. Their staff does not get paid through the hospital. I want to make sure that they're not.
Well, we can, Baby Friendly has a form, and does that come up in?
Yeah, we filled the form out, and it looks like that they don't qualify as being, they're totally independent from us.
Okay.
Then you should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very stressed about that.
Yeah, you should be fine. And they've really, I think, because this whole physician and hospital affiliation piece has changed so much in the past several years that it had gotten quite a bit more complicated. So I think the Baby Friendly USA form asking and trying to help clarify that has helped a great deal. And so if none of your prenatal clinics are, technically affiliated in any fashion, with or under the control of the hospital, then, all you can do, you can make your best concerted effort to get the information to them. Here's, and also I think kind of couch it that, we want your patients to know what to expect when they come to the hospital so they will have a good experience. And
Right.
you don't want them back in your office at their postpartum visit upset because, this happened and that happened and they didn't know that, was going to be like that. So they want their patients to be happy as well. So kind of framing it that way. And this is the information we want to make sure your patients have before they come to have their baby when they're too overwhelmed.
Okay, perfect.
But if they truly aren't affiliated, none of them are, then they will actually not interview. It's been a while since we've had a hospital that met that criteria, but they will not interview prenatal patients. Because they can't hold you to that if you have no control over that clinic in any capacity. You just, do your best. But what you also have to realize is, and that's kind of that's the tricky part too. Those patients are still going to come deliver at your hospital and be interviewed as a postpartum mom on the unit. So they still need to be able to answer, those questions too, as far as what happened during their hospital experience. Definitely a tricky one. All right.
You'll still need to look at that audit tool step 3 because there are some things for all facilities regardless of affiliated clinic.
Right. Yeah, and I think that reminds me, Angela, because I did have this is the policy checkoff tool for those of you that, are in front of the computer. And so step 1 is, have your policy, blah. But these are some of these are things that they will actually ask when they're there on site as well, even though you send your policy in way ahead of time and they review it and bless it or send it back with lots of red markings. But they will ask, if the date is listed on there, when it was last revised. Do you have a separate hospital policy about how often your policies are revised? And they might ask to see that. I've seen them do that when they're on site. But step 2 is staff training, and then here's step 3 is the prenatal piece. So facilities with affiliated prenatal services. These are things you need to make sure you have in your policy, the patient education and all, but facilities without affiliated prenatal services. So there's still some things that they're going to ask, that they can ask about, as Angela was saying, and that you want to make sure you have in your policy as well. Are we doing, group classes on formula feeding or something of that nature? So, so those are things that are in there as well. All right, other questions from other people that are on the phone? I know we have looks like some newer names on our call today too.
Becky?
Yeah.
This is Jeannie in Stillwater. I was just wondering if when the patients come in and they're interviewed postpartum and they weren't at the affiliated clinic, will they ask them prenatal, like, were you instructed this prenatally, and can we say, well, they aren't affiliated? I mean, how does that work? Do you just type up?
Yeah, they won't ask them there's questions that they'll specifically ask when they do prenatal interviews. And what they're doing now with prenatal interviews, something that I just saw this month, or well, I guess it was technically last month, that they will interview patients, prenatal patients, that attended an affiliated clinic if they are 28 weeks or greater and have had at least 2 clinic appointments. So they will interview them and ask, they will actually ask these questions that you would have in your policy. Are they educated on the benefits of breastfeeding, of the importance of exclusive breastfeeding? Did anybody, talk to you about early skin-to-skin contact, during your prenatal care? So this is what they would ask prenatal patients. Now what they will ask a postpartum patient is, say on skin-to-skin, what happened after delivery? Was your baby placed skin-to-skin, and how long was your baby skin-to-skin? So they won't ask the mother, why is skin-to-skin important or something like that. They would ask that prenatally. Does that make sense? Does that help answer the question? Okay.
When you're in dissemination, I believe, is when you get all access to the audit tools, and they're not the exact things that they use during the visit, but that's the tool that you'll use to see if you're following everything in those steps, and it makes it a lot clearer what you need to focus on for different patients, because there's a separate one for prenatal versus some of the postpartum ones. But I think you don't get it till dissemination.
Okay. And my second question is, how, can you screen the prenatal patients that they call, or how do they get their names and numbers, or do you have no control over that?
What phase are you in? Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Development, yes.
I'll speak a little bit to that, and then anyone else that wants to chime in. That's one area where you do have some control, just because they really first they expect that your patients have been educated, and if they interview a patient that, quote, has had the education, can she answer the questions? Because you may say, and it's documented in the computer, that this patient's 32 weeks and yes, she's had all the education, but she still can't answer the questions because she was just given forms in her prenatal packet that she never looked at, and nobody ever talked to her. So so they want to make sure that the mothers, if they've received the education, that they can actually verbalize that. So they don't want to interview anybody that hasn't had the education, because they know they can't answer the questions, and they don't want to interview anybody that's too early in their pregnancy. So you have to have some control over that, and especially smaller hospitals that may not, are highly unlikely to have the 10 prenatal patients there in one afternoon. So then yes, you can actually, and you have to get their permission to be interviewed. So you're either going to have a list of moms that they have to contact by phone that you've already called and asked permission for them to be called again by the assessor, or you have some moms that are there in clinic that they can actually interview on site, or you're scheduling to bring moms in to be interviewed that have had their prenatal education. So yes, actually that's kind of one piece that you can control, unless you have, I don't see it very often, but unless you have a really busy OB clinic that you can pretty much show up any day of the week and you're going to have a whole bunch of pregnant patients that are far enough along for them to interview 10. So that's usually very hard to do. So they expect that there's either going to, and that's, I know Angela and Karen can speak to that. They scheduled a lot of their prenatal patients to come in to be interviewed, specifically to be interviewed. So yeah, that's a good question. It's not that way necessarily for the postpartum patients. So other questions? I know I see Jill at Canadian Valley. Any particular questions or challenges y'all are encountering right now?
Well, actually, we were just, while we were listening to everything that you guys were talking about, we're also looking at just what we need to do. In August, by August, we will need to move into the designation phase, and I feel like we've moved along really well. We're just
focusing on the audit process right now and making sure that we do the audit process correctly, because we've almost finished all our staff and physician education. So it's really just, it helped me a lot to hear the conversations about the affiliated versus the non-affiliated physicians, because even my pediatricians, you know, my question is, are they going to expect that we've spoken with the affiliated pediatricians' offices even though they're off campus?
I mean, they're not going to go to any pediatric clinic, and they're not going to interview any, you know, clinic staff. They won't interview any OB clinic staff either. They will, as far as, say, physicians go, they will only interview physicians, OB, peds, family medicine, maybe midwives, who also have privileges in the hospital and see patients during the birth hospitalization at some point. So either...
Because that would be peds also, because they come here and they do peds on call, but they're located off campus. I didn't know...
So pediatrics, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you have pediatricians that, yeah, they've got their own clinic, obviously they're going to see the babies later on, but they're coming in to see the babies in the hospital or do the newborn exam, those are fair game to be interviewed.
Okay.
But not
so that,
your staff.
Okay, so that actually is even some, but affiliated, you said, not, because I have an on-call schedule, and even some that aren't affiliated take ped call.
Yeah.
Jill, this is Angela. I am going to tell you what we thought, that they would only interview affiliated physicians, and when we got our letter, they wanted a list of healthcare providers who had privileges to take care of our patients. So it didn't matter affiliated or not.
Right.
And we had one non-affiliated physician who did not complete the training. And so we prayed that they wouldn't pick him, because they can choose to randomly select those physicians. We kind of stacked it a little differently in our favor, hoping they would bite on that, but they want a list of all of them. So if they see any babies or moms in your department, that you'll give them that list.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a little different than we were expecting.
Because I think one of my concerns, how do you address, and someone may know or, you know, may not have the answer, but if you have a physician who does deliver, he's not affiliated, he does deliver, but he's family practice, so he also takes care of babies. He does not comply with anything. Or, you know, and he's my only one. He's the only one I'll be worried about with the whole thing. But how do they deal with that coming in? I don't have control over him.
They know.
We had one, it was a pediatrician, and we had the same problem.
Debbie, are you still on here? I know Debbie McGowan, she went to kind of administration that was over some of our physicians here at St. Anthony, and sort of put the pressure on, you know, like, you don't want the physicians to be the one to cause our whole hospital to fail.
That was only for our affiliated physicians, because they're not over the ones that aren't affiliated. That's where it's so hard.
That's difficult. Because what we're talking about is the education they're doing in their office before they come here. Now, I give him everything I give everyone else, all the other physicians, and the material that kind of is that continuity through our unit and all that, but he doesn't participate.
Jill, we had one also. That's why you don't have to have 100%. You only have to have 80%.
Right.
If you have one outlier, it's not going to mess you up. We had one that didn't do a single thing. And so
that helps me then, because he really is the only one I'm worried about.
And don't worry about him then. Everybody else is good. Don't worry about it.
Good.
That's what I would say.
You will interview 5 physicians, so you can have one outlier.
5 physicians?
Yes, they will interview 5 physicians. 5.
That's almost every. That's all 3 OBs and almost all my family practice. You know, I only have like 8 that deliver. So.
But ours was a mixture of family practice, OB, and pediatrician.
Yeah. They want to do a mixture. So, and if you have family medicine, you know, they may say 2 OBs, 2 pediatricians, 1 family medicine. It kind of depends on, you know, the number of different types. You know, if it's mostly family medicine that sees your babies, you know, then they may interview 2 of those. But you can also you know, sometimes they understand physicians are not available. And so they, you know, they really ideally want to interview people in person if at all possible. They will interview someone over the phone if they can't come in, but they also understand they can be too busy in clinic and won't respond to a phone call.
Jill, this is Angela. You know, we have all these residents and everything, and we actually just had physicians. We volunteered them to take one for the team, and they actually just came at specific times and were quote unquote available, and we would tell the surveyors, hey, Dr. such and such is here right now, and he's an OBGYN, would you like to talk to him? And they bit on everyone that we had lined up. And then we had more than double than we needed, just in case they didn't, you know, whatever the timing was or whatever, and they didn't randomly select any of the physicians. They took who was available. They don't have to, but they did, and that really helped.
That's what I've seen them do, because they're highly likely to more randomly select the nursing staff because they expect the nurses are all there. The night shift nurses are all coming in, and they're all there. Where the physicians, you know, they may be busy in clinic and not available. So if they've actually got one standing in front of them, yes, let's go interview this doctor, because they know they might not have another opportunity, or they get, you know, OB-GYNs in a delivery or doing a surgery or whatever. So so you can definitely make physicians available for them and kind of
how long is
control over it.
Sorry, this is Jeannie in Stillwater. How long is the interview, and like what kind of things they just ask them? What's on the tools, basically tools?
Jeannie, when you get access to those audit tools, you'll have access to those questions that they'll be asked, and that's really helpful when you're preparing your staff and physicians.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And they'll ask the physicians pretty much the same questions that they'll ask the nursing staff, and it's it can be a 10 to 15 minute interview depending on the assessor and the person they're interviewing. So sometimes we get worried. I was at Chickasaw's assessment, you know, most recently, and they were back there for more than 30 minutes with one nurse, and you know, I was like, she's still in there? Who is that? You know, and they were like, well, she talks a whole lot. We don't know what she's saying. So it really made us all nervous. But yeah, no, you can have some control over that. And the only other thing I might suggest, Jill, is if there's any other physician, well, if I think that was an OB that you said, or if it's a family medicine, if there's, you know, anyone else that's been supportive that you might be able to enlist to talk to them and see if you can, you know, get any bit of, you know, better understanding or cooperation if they hear it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a position that's been around a long time, that will probably retire in the next few years, and he doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't.
Not gonna let.
Just, and so I just know from 10 years experience that I'm just gonna have to work around this.
Yeah. Just have him. He's not available.
Just going to not be available. If he walks on this unit, I'm going
to tell him
cry.
when they're coming, and tell him to show up that day.
I'm going to schedule inductions in a way that there's no spaces available. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that out loud.
But I was going to ask you if y'all are thinking that you're going to move into designation, you know, sometime in the next few months. Be thinking about if you want us to come out and do a mock survey when you might want that. So
I will. Right now, you know, we do our Epic Go Live April the 30th, so we are consumed with that, and that's what's giving me the greatest heartburn right now. Is we have classes and meetings, and you guys know, every single day, and so trying to get the rest of this done is a little overwhelming.
Yep. So good deal.
We'll get it done though.
Awesome. And for anyone on the phone that and Debbie's saying he can be sick that day or on vacation. I think he's out of town. Anybody that's on the phone, if you're just a reminder, if you're getting ready to move into a new phase, make sure you let us know, when you've gotten, you've paid that next fee and you've gotten confirmation that, congratulations on finishing, completing dissemination, so that we can reimburse you for that phase. So sometimes we don't always hear about it right away, so we want to get that out to you as soon as we can. So, well, we have time, I think, for maybe one more question. Other questions from anybody that's on the phone? We're getting close to 1 o'clock. Pedro, was there anything else we were going to mention today?
No.
Yeah, and any thoughts or suggestions anybody has on a particular topic you'd like to see addressed on a webinar, we are definitely open to suggestion. We were tentatively thinking for April that we would really kind of go over, some of the data that we're asking hospitals to submit, your breastfeeding rate and skin-to-skin rate and things like that, and also kind of combine that with documentation, what Baby Friendly looks for in documentation. So that's sometimes a challenging piece, and what they might look for when they're during an assessment. So, but other comments or questions? Oh, and I'm just looking in the chat box. Paula was asking audit tool step 3. Angela, was that the one? Yeah, that's on the prenatal piece in the sections.
I think that was the one. What if I don't, Becky, what if I don't have the patients there? Honestly, we do 60 deliveries a month, and there can be, like last week, we did like 3 patients.
Oh.
3 deliveries.
Yeah, they showed up for Chickasaw, and they had cleared house over the weekend, and they had 2 patients in. So that's when then you have to have a good list of phone numbers for them.
Okay.
And they will go back, and especially for our smaller hospitals, a couple of things here. They will they don't want to go back, 6 months because patients don't remember, and that's pretty useless. And you may not have had everything in place. So they'll only go back 6 weeks, and of course, the closer to time of delivery, the better. But as it can be difficult to get hold of patients by phone, you need to have, if they want to interview 10 postpartum mothers who delivered vaginally, 5 postpartum mothers who delivered by cesarean, and if your hospital has enough volume of NICU or special care babies that would be, separated from mother for medical reasons, shipped to another facility, whatever, they would interview 5 of those. But I've had a couple of hospitals recently that, yeah, they don't have the volume, they can't find 5 NICU moms in the past 6 weeks, then they won't assess you on that. But so you need 10 really 10 postpartum that had vaginal and 10 that had cesarean births. 5, and you want to have 2 to 3 times that many on a list of phone numbers for them to call, just because they can't always get hold of the mothers. But you can have that list for them, and once again, you have to call the mother in advance to ask her permission to be contacted by the assessor. So you have an opportunity to kind of give them a heads up that they're going to be calling and asking you questions about the care that you received. Now, what some hospitals have done too is, when you know your assessment date and you're pretty sure it's unlikely that you're going to have the volume of patients for them to interview in person, you could, that takes some effort. Either way, it takes somebody's time to do this, but you can also get permission from patients while they're in the hospital, say 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, and have a list of patients that delivered that gave permission to be called. So, but once again, just knowing, you want to make sure you have enough numbers. They want to make sure that they have enough numbers for you to be fairly evaluated. If they can only get 5 postpartum mothers who delivered vaginally, then that's hard. That's going to be hard for the hospital, because if more than one mother, says something that doesn't, meet policy, then you've lost your 80%. So it gives you a lot less leeway there, if that makes sense. But yeah, having phone numbers is the key to that. So.
This is Angela again. I'm sorry I talk so much, but we even went so far as to tell patients based on our agenda for our assessors about what time we would be calling them, so that we could increase the number of patients that answered the phone. It wasn't a perfect system, and we had some no answers, but I think that it helped a little bit, even kind of narrowing down that window that they could be called in.
Yes, because you'll know your date, and you can tell them, yeah, on Monday, August 15th, we're having our assessment, and, can somebody call you that day or that afternoon?
Between 2 and 3 o'clock p.m., they might call you. We were very specific.
So yes. And I see a question from Debbie in the chat box, and yes, you should be getting a check for your designation. I think that was something we were just, now that we're past summit, we were just double checking. So if y'all have not seen a check come in, I know we sent all that off to the health department. So we will double check that that's been, the health department's sometimes kind of slow. And for those of you that's newer for you, we facilitate that and provide the documentation and all, but basically we invoice the health department. St. Anthony Hospital in Oklahoma City has now completed the designation phase. Please, and here's verification, please send them their $3,000 or whatever it was that that you paid. So but then that may take a while to get back from the health department. And sometimes we've had challenges, I don't think so much at St. Anthony, sometimes some of the hospitals have, the check actually was sent and nobody actually knew what it was for. So they didn't know who to, allocate that check to. They didn't know that it went to the women's services or whatever. So we can't control that, but knowing on your end to alert people that we can try to let you know, when the check was sent or if it's being sent. But that's sometimes the tricky part. So, all right. Well, go ahead.
That reimbursement, Charlie, from St. Anthony's, are those checks each time you complete a phase or just once you get your designation?
No, each time you complete a phase. So
okay.
Say y'all have moved from development, or you're getting ready to move from development into dissemination. Once you get an email or you get your verification from Baby Friendly USA, congratulations, you have completed development phase. Welcome to dissemination, and now you can access the tools that are in that part of the portal. Let us know. Send us a copy of that. Congratulations, you've completed development phase. And that's the proof that we need, and then we can get the invoice for the health department to reimburse you that piece.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, that doesn't happen in a couple of weeks or anything, unfortunately. But yeah, we are very excited to still to have this much support from the health department and be able to do that. So all right, well, I think we are past the hour. Any final questions from anybody? And hopefully everyone, if y'all attended the summit, the email went out with the link for doing the evaluation. So if you have any staff that attended that are asking about that, that was sent out last week. I think it went out Friday. I don't remember, don't quote me on that, but that has gone out, and if they do the online evaluation, then they can actually print out their certificate right then. So, so definitely make sure people are on the lookout for that. And it went to the email that they registered under, so we tried to verify all of those. Otherwise, all right. Well, thanks to everybody for calling in today, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day in our really strange winter weather we're having. But and we will hopefully see y'all next month.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody. And